Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Buckeye Weekly Podcast. I'm Tony Gerdeman, here as always with Tom Orr. Tom, how's it going?
Tony, we love to let the listeners in behind the curtain. The look on your face tells me everything I need to know. And what I need to know is that Tony briefly forgot his own name just a minute ago. Tony, does it smell like toast where you are?
Look, a lot of changes going on. And, so I just want to clarify. My name is Tony Gerdeman. Your name is Tom Orr.
Mm-hmm.
This is still the Buckeye Weekly Podcast.
Mm-hmm.
You can now find us at youtube.com/Buckeye Insiders.
/ at Buckeye Insiders.
Thank you. / at Buckeye Insiders. And of course, at BuckeyeInsiders.com. Right now, it's just a splash page. Once we get launched fully, it'll be going live, but you can go ahead and go there now. Sign up, throw your email address in there, and we'll go ahead and give you an update and let you know when things are live when they are. So that's the way things are right now. I am still me. You are still Tom. Well, Tom is still Tom. You are still you. And we thank you for being here.
Me or the audience?
Oh, no. The audience.
Okay.
Much more happy to have them here.
I can hear the audience right now going, oh, good. I was worried that this show was going to get smarter at the new destination. No. New channel, same IQ. What are we talking about, Tony? Let's talk about something involving Ohio State football. Please, I am begging you.
Yeah, so what we're doing right here in this episode is something that I've been wondering about. And basically, who are the most indispensable Buckeyes on this year's team? Because in the past, there have been you can't lose this guy or else your season is in the tank. Like, remember a few years ago, 2024, we said, Ohio State loses
Josh Simmons.
Josh Simmons, then boy, their season is over. And boy, if they lose Seth McLaughlin, boy, their season is over. And we were right about that. So this is kind of in that vein, Tom. If who can Ohio State not afford to lose? Because if you look over this roster, you can theoretically, the reason that you recruit all of these players is because you can lose anybody and still move on. Like the 2014 Buckeyes, you can't afford to lose JT Barrett, but they did, and they still found a way. So with that all in mind, Tom, I'm going to give you one, you give me one, I'm going to give you one, you one back, and then we'll just discuss this a little bit. The first name that I have for you, I think, is the easiest one. And this one is the one that is irreplaceable, and that is Jeremiah Smith, who, if you lose, then you're replacing him with Chris Henry Jr. or Chris Henry Jr. You can't lose a Jeremiah Smith, the arguably, maybe not arguably any longer, the greatest receiver in Ohio State history, and replace him with a true freshman or somebody playing out of position, because that's kind of what that would lead to. So this one is easy. This is the one that you had come up with that I took from you.
Yes, this would have been the first one on my list as well. And yeah, it's an easy one because Chris Henry Jr., I think everyone has extremely high expectations for him, but extremely high expectations for like a regular mortal true freshman wide receiver, which is going to be very good at some point. Don't be in a position where you have to have big production out of him as a true freshman, because it just, every time we go through the true freshman wide receiver numbers, you go through all these guys who are immensely talented, future first round picks. And boy, howdy, there's a lot of 10 catches for 117 yards in there. There's a lot of that. And, you get the guys who are like, oh, I remember him being really good as a freshman. Yeah, that guy caught for like 250 yards as a true freshman. So if your backup plan is an immensely talented true freshman, that is great, but you don't want to rely on that person. And Jeremiah Smith is the ultimate curve wrecker in terms of what he did as a true freshman, in terms of what he did as a sophomore. And then he no longer has Carnell Tate on the other side. I think that's the other thing that makes him probably even more number one with a bullet here in terms of guys they can't afford to lose, because you don't have another future top 5 pick already for sure on the other side. Maybe we'll see how the other guys play out. Maybe there is someone over there, but we don't know that yet in the way that we kind of knew that with Carnell Tate. So yeah, Jeremiah Smith is an easy number one.
Mm-hmm.
To me, I think number 2 is also pretty easy. And that's the guy who's going to be throwing Jeremiah Smith the football. And that's Julian Sayin. Again, I think all the stuff I said about Chris Henry Jr., you could say about Tavian St. Clair. He's not a true freshman, but with a quarterback, you kind of have to build in that 1 year. So a redshirt freshman getting thrown in there. You don't necessarily want to have to do that. He is someone who I think there's a lot of potential there. We haven't, we've seen little glimpses of it, and we've seen a lot of growth from him over the course of the last year. But I think that the ceiling for a Tavian St. Clair quarterback Ohio State team is probably a little lower than the ceiling for a Julian Sayin quarterback to Ohio State team. So, I know that there is a broad spectrum of opinions on exactly how good Julian Sayin's last year was, but if you look at the stats, it was a pretty good year, and you would sort of expect those numbers to take a little bit of a step forward this year with his second year as a starter and his third year overall on the team. So yeah, I think that that's someone who I would expect to be someone that they would really choose not to lose.
He's my number 2 as well, but also looking at Tavian St. Clair, I mean, Julian Sayin took him to the playoffs as a redshirt freshman.
Mm-hmm.
CJ Stroud was really good as a redshirt freshman. JT Barrett as a redshirt freshman took Ohio State to the playoffs, and that was a 4-team playoff. So there is a history of redshirt freshman quarterbacks doing well at Ohio State. Even Justin Fields was almost a redshirt freshman. He was a true sophomore who played a little bit in 2018, took them to the playoffs. So second-year quarterbacks can do this at Ohio State. So we shouldn't pretend that he can't, and you're not doing that. But I agree, you would rather have the proven guy versus the guy that there's a ton of potential there, and you're probably still going to be okay. But this schedule might be the difference where an experienced quarterback will win you a couple of games that the inexperienced quarterback will lose. One of those games might be if Ohio State wins in week 2 at Texas. That's, I think, part of having a veteran quarterback. And the schedule, we've talked about it. We don't need to go into it now, but this is not the kind of schedule you'd like to have a first-year starter for. This is a schedule that a second-year starter, you still don't want the schedule, but you'd rather have the second-year starter. My next guy, and I'm just going to stay on the offense for the last time, Carson Hinsman, I think you look at the biggest drop from the starter to the backup, and I think Joshua Padilla is perhaps the future at center. We'll see. But everybody else on the offensive line, there is a plan for if they were to go down. This would be the plan that takes the most difficulty, or there's just not as much, you're not as sure as you are the rest of the plan, because you're asking a lot of Josh Padilla, or maybe they'd want to go with Luke Montgomery because he's a senior and he's done it a little bit. So even that is that's still a lot. So I think Carson Hinsman for me is right up there because he's proven he may be one of the top 2 or 3 centers in the nation. That's an awful big luxury to have, and then you don't want to lose that.
No, you definitely do not want to lose that. And he's someone who I think gets taken for granted a little bit, where center's a little bit like a long snapper, where if you notice your long snapper, bad things are happening. And you have seen over the years centers where it's just the snap's a little low, the snap's a little off the side. That can blow up a play. And he has just been so consistent and so good in the middle of that offensive line for so many years that, yeah, he's a great name. He was not the third name that I had on my list, but I think he's a very, very good name. And part of this, I think, is also that Josh Padilla has been banged up and has missed so much time last fall, this spring. I have been of the opinion that Josh Padilla is going to be a very good player at Ohio State, is going to be the next center up for Ohio State. And if he's healthy this fall, I think he could step in. There's been a couple times when we've thought, okay, we're finally going to get a chance to see Josh Padilla. And then he's just been banged up, and it hasn't been season-ending injury. It's just been not 100% healthy. And so when you have some health concerns there, I think that has to be a little bit of a factor in how confident are you in the backup. If he was healthy, I think I'd feel pretty good about it, but you kind of want to see him out on the field consistently for a while to feel like that. Here's one where I'm going to be very interested to know if this was a name that was on your list.
Mm-hmm.
Jalen McLean. Did you have him on your list? Yes. Okay.
I did.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. He's another guy where I feel like you would probably talk about, who were the best players on that 2025 Ohio State defense. And you'd hear a lot of names before you got to Jalen McLean. But Jalen McClain was really, really good, and he got overshadowed because he had Caleb Downs playing next to him, but he was a really, really good player on the back end of that defense. And this year, he's the guy who's coming back. You've got Terry Moore, you've got Earl Little back there with him. So I think they feel very good about all three of those guys, but Jalen McClain's the guy who's already done this. He's already worked with Matt Patricia for a year. And this is another spot where it's sort of excellence in anonymity, where whenever we talk about safeties, we always talk about Jordan Fuller and how just what an eraser Jordan Fuller was on the back end of that defense. And they just didn't give up big plays because Jordan Fuller was just always there. And Jalen McClain is going to be, I think, that kind of player on the back end of the Ohio State defense, where he's just very solid, very reliable, always in the right spot. Not someone, I don't know that he's someone who I think is going to win the Thorpe Award or anything like that, but I think he's someone who is going to be such a crucial piece on the back end of that defense.
The way coaches talk about him, and maybe even more important, the way Caleb Downs talks about him and his ability to do whatever is necessary. And he's a selfless player, because when you've got somebody that talented who can do more, but is asked to do this specific thing over here because Caleb Downs is doing this, like he'll do whatever it takes for the team, but also he could be doing some of the stuff that Caleb Downs did last year. Looking forward to seeing how they used him. But yes, he's absolutely one of the guys here. And this is knowing that they've got four safeties that they like. Mm-hmm. You throw Leroy Roker in there as well, and they're pretty comfortable, but they don't want to lose Jalen McClain. They need that coach out there that is familiar with the defense, has the ability to communicate. He's worked so hard on the communication. That was one of the things that he took from Caleb Downs. You've got to be forceful. You've got to be confident in all of your calls. And he's one of those guys that said, if we're all wrong, we're all right. As long as we're all on the same page, the book's going to get read. And so for sure, he's on my list. The last guy on my list is Kenyatta Jackson, who is, I expect to be the best defensive lineman on the defense. And I really think I'm not going to be shocked if he's a top 10 pick, like where he just blows up and everybody talks about him. And it's funny how it only takes a game against Texas, whether you're James Laurinaitis, Arvell Reese, perhaps Kenyatta Jackson. If you show up and you do something big, and I'm not saying that's all they do all year, but like that can open you up to everybody and they see you. And I think he's got that kind of potential. And if you lose him, now you're talking about, well, I mean, I guess Bo Atkinson and Quay Rusaw and Zion Gray, we'll make it work, but you don't want to have to.
Exactly. And yeah, this is a really boring show because we have agreed on everything so far. I don't know if you had it in the exact same order that we did, but yeah, I think that was the fifth name on my list. And yeah, for all the reasons you said, I think he's someone who is clearly going to be the best, most established pass rusher they have off the edge. He's, the veteran who has sort of seen it all, done it all at this point. He has, again, a second year with Matt Patricia. Just a lot to like there. And yeah, he is one of the most indispensable people on that defense. Just to give you one more name that I thought, well, maybe he's going to come up with exactly the same names that I thought about. So we're going to give you a sixth one here. Mm-hmm. Tony, do you think I'm going offense or defense on this one?
I will say special teams.
You're so annoying. The worst, the absolute worst. Yes, I'm going special teams. I'm going Connor Hawkins. They have other kickers on the roster, but Connor Hawkins, I think, was a priority to get Connor Hawkins and bring him in because you have seen, with as strong as the schedule is this year, you have seen the importance of field goals and being able to make field goals in close games and how that can swing the outcome of close games. And this is a year where Ohio State's going to have 4, 5, potentially 6 close games, that are sort of one score-ish games. They're not going to just win every game by 24 points where if you miss a field goal, it's like, oh, well, some gamblers are mad that you didn't hit the over, but you still won by 21 points instead. This is a year where you're going to have a lot. There's almost certainly going to be 1 to 2 games where it comes down to, did Connor Hawkins hit a field goal or did Connor Hawkins not hit a field goal? And I think the drop off from him to whoever ends up being the second kicker on this team That I think is a big enough, a big enough drop off that you want the certainty of the veteran who has had to go out there and do it at Baylor already, where you sort of know, okay, you know what you got.
And you could throw Joe McGuire on this list as well for the same reasons, because it's always what's the drop off from him to the backup, and they certainly don't want to lose Joe McGuire. But yeah, I think if you disagree with any of that, you're crazy. But also, thank you for listening and watching. I know a lot of people like embrace debate. Here we embrace agreement, and not always. Also, Tom, I think embrace agreement is something you have to sign before junior prom.
Nope, I have nothing to add. Nope.
If you have not yet hit the thumbs up on this, I don't know what has stopped you from this point, but please hit the thumbs up. Subscribe to the channel, our new channel at Buckeye Insiders. And if you're listening, a 5-star rating and review. As you've seen, if you're the podcast side of things, you're still getting everything. Nothing has really changed for you. Of course, there are changes going on with us, as we said at the outset. But we do appreciate you guys sticking around and finding us. We're sorry we are a little bit harder to find now, but thank you for reaching out. Thank you for finding us. And of course, throw us any of your feedback, any show topics you want. We're always welcome to all of that. Just also throw in your comments. Who do you think is the most indispensable? Did we miss somebody? Did Tom get somebody wrong? Did I get somebody right? Let us know. I love hearing stuff like that. So thank you all for tuning in, and we will talk to you all later.